Long time no see. Have you been well? Can you just hand over the inheritance already? What the heck? Today is Dad's funeral. I do know that. That's why I came. While the funeral was in progress, the estranged sister boldly entered the scene. Moreover, she wasn't alone. It was a face I did not wish to see. Dad's gone now, so there must be plenty left, right? I mean, the money, right? Exactly. But someone like you won't get a penny from me. My ex-husband, stolen by my sister, was no longer the man he once was. He had become such a scoundrel. It's rude not to even pay respects to Dad. It's meaningless to do that for someone who's dead. All we want is money. Just hand it over, and we'll leave. It was heartbreaking to think that our dad, who had disowned his daughter and husband with such agony, would not rest in peace. It was at that moment I thought it was noisy. It was you guys. The calm mother appeared. No emotion of anger was visible. Finally, someone who understands. You'll give us the inheritance Dad left behind, right? Did you come just for that? Not just that. I'm carrying a new life in my belly. Saying that, my sister happily rubbed her belly. At that moment, I, who had not been able to have children, unwittingly felt envious. The fact that I felt this way only made me more frustrated and angry. I see. It's hard to say, but there's nothing for you guys. What? Both were gaping, looking at each other in disbelief. I decided to tell them the truth. It was enough to plunge them into hell. My name is Vanessa, and I now work as a beautician. My husband, Jeff, is 3 years older and was introduced to me by a friend. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, too. At that time, I lacked confidence in myself and avoided talking to people as much as possible. Seeing this, a friend thought it would be a chance for change and introduced me to Jeff. I thought, I want to go home soon. At that time, that was all I could think about. I had become pessimistic, thinking no one would ever like someone like me. Vanessa, you are beautiful. Huh? Oh. Sorry to be so forward. I was shocked by his words. Although I had opportunities like this before, no one had ever had a good impression of me. In hindsight, I must have been a simple woman. With just one word, I was drawn to Jeff. What followed happened very quickly. Would you like to date me? He asked me this during our third meal together. Oh, okay. Without hesitation, I answered. Then, I look forward to being with you. Me, too. After that, I experienced happiness like never before. Every day was rosy, or so I thought. But even such normal days were disturbed. It was the presence of my sister, Cindy. She lived at our parents' house.
What?
You got a boyfriend? How could someone like you manage that? Introduce him to me next time. No, that's. Can't you listen to your sister? Despite being so ugly. The main reason I lacked confidence was my sister, Cindy. Indeed, she had been celebrated as beautiful since childhood. And had grown arrogant and overly self-conscious. Every time one returned home and was spoken to like that, anyone would become like me. You shouldn't speak to Vanessa like that. Dad, you're always too soft on Vanessa. That's why she turns out like this, huh? Even if she's your sister, there are things you should and shouldn't say. The reason I managed to get this far was because of my dad's influence. Whenever Cindy spoke harshly to me, he always defended me. I'm fine. Why don't you talk back? Vanessa, you're better than you think. Ultimately, I ended up introducing Jeff to my sister, and that was the beginning of the tragedy. The opportunity came soon enough. We were considering marriage and visited my parents' house during the Christmas holiday. Oh? Is this the famous guy? Nice to meet you. My name is Jeff. You're too good for Vanessa. Thank you. Then, Cindy said something outrageous. There's still time, so why don't you switch from Vanessa to me? I usually didn't stand up to my sister, but this was too much for me to bear. Hey. That's rude. What? It's just a joke. Don't take it so seriously. Laughing, she left. Sorry for that sudden outburst. Oh, it's okay. I was just a bit shocked though. With that, we went to greet our parents. Jeff, you intend to marry Vanessa, don't you? Yes, of course. I see. Vanessa seems to lack confidence because of Cindy. I hope you can support her in that regard as well. Dad, please don't say unnecessary things. It's not unnecessary. It's important. So, please take care of her. Saying that, he smiled. I never thought my usually strict dad would do something like that. With our parents' blessing, we were now close to getting married. I thought a new life was about to begin. Shall we go? Yes. That day, I was more nervous than usual. Just by submitting a single piece of paper, we could become husband and wife. We went to the city office together and submitted the marriage registration. Now we are husband and wife. Then, we need to look for a new house. I think we should plan for the future and make sure to have a room for the kids. My heart was filled with happiness. About 2 weeks later, we found our new home and moved in. However, the next day, an unexpected visitor appeared. Why are you here? That's my line. Why didn't you tell me? I couldn't understand why Cindy was standing in front of me. Then, Jeff came up from behind. Sorry, I told her. What? I thought it would be better to let her know. Jeff did nothing wrong. It's you who are at fault, not telling anything. What shocked me more was that Jeff and Cindy had exchanged contact information. She walked right into the house. She sat on our newly bought sofa as if it was her own and made herself comfortable. Then, without being asked, she started talking about herself. Vanessa has always been incapable. She always hid behind me. Is that so? Especially during middle school. Don't talk about that. What's with that reaction? It's just the past, right? She began talking about a misunderstanding that led to me being dumped in middle school. It was a past I wanted to erase. What was even more problematic was that Jeff was listening intently. She stayed several hours until she was satisfied and left. Cindy seemed different from the image you described. She's really funny. It seemed that Jeff had taken a liking to my sister. I asked him something that was bothering me. By the way, when did you exchange contact information? Oh, maybe the first time we went to greet her. She insisted on it. Jeff laughed as he answered, and I felt a slight mistrust. Why didn't he tell me about it? Our married life had just begun, but I was only worried that my sister would ruin it. 6 months into our marriage, we wanted to have children and became proactive about it. However, even after a year, there was no sign of pregnancy. Should we give up on having children? What? We've tried a lot, but it just doesn't seem to happen. Wait. It's not decided yet that we can't, let's try a bit more. However, my voice didn't reach him. That was the turning point that would make our marriage, which had been so full of hope, take a 180-degree turn. Are you going to be late today too?
Yeah.
Sorry, work is at a critical phase. I might even stay at the office. I see, understood. Jeff started coming home late as a matter of course. And our conversations dwindled to the bare minimum. Where had our happy married life gone? And at times like these, that person would show up. Jeff started saying he had to work even on weekends and was hardly ever at home. I found myself spending more and more time alone, whether it was a weekday or weekend. The doorbell rang, and when I went to the entrance, there stood my sister. "What's with that face? What are you doing here today?" "Just checking on how your married life is going." As usual, she made herself at home like it was her own house. At that point, I no longer had the energy to push her away. "Huh? Isn't Jeff here? It's a holiday today, right? He had to work." "Huh?" Then, like a child who had found a new toy, she began to get excited. "Maybe he's found someone else?" Even as a joke, that was not something she should say. I intended to keep quiet and hope she would leave soon. But I couldn't stay silent after such a comment. "That's not true at all. Don't say such baseless things. I bet he regrets marrying you, wishing he shouldn't have married such a woman." Laughing, she said that. I clenched my fists. If it had been anyone other than my sister in front of me, I might have lashed out. She continued to belittle me. "Oh right. I'm supposed to meet someone now. A really great guy, way too good for you. Bye." With that, Cindy left to meet a man. Alone, I was filled with frustration. Why couldn't my life ever go smoothly? That was all that ran through my mind. Before I knew it, it had gotten dark outside. Jeff came home, but I couldn't miss that he seemed different. "I'm home. Welcome back." He seemed unusually happy, something I hadn't seen directed at me lately. "Did something good happen?" "Huh? No, not really." As soon as I asked, his smile disappeared, and he returned to his usual indifferent demeanor. I was sure he was hiding something, so I paid close attention to his actions. His behavior towards me didn't change, but he frequently checked his phone, which he usually didn't do much. When I picked up his clothes to clean them, I noticed something. I thought, could this smell be? Neither Jeff nor I usually wore perfume, so it was easier to notice such scents. What bothered me more was that there were traces of him trying to mask the scent with something like a deodorant spray. If my suspicions were correct, I wondered how long this had been going on. "Did you meet someone today?" I decided to probe. "Huh? I mean, I met people from work." "Why?" I smelled something like perfume." I watched for any reaction to gauge his response. "Perfume? You're imagining things, don't ask stupid questions." "Right, it just smelled similar to someone I know well." At that moment, Jeff flinched. If there were nothing to it, he wouldn't react like that. There was a pause before he spoke next. "What are you trying to say?" "I'm tired. I'm going to bed." Jeff headed straight for the bedroom as if fleeing. Then, he made a significant mistake. The smartphone he had been carefully looking at until just moments ago was left on the table. Glancing at the screen, I found my sister's name. I thought, I knew it. I took out my phone and snapped a picture of the screen. This would at least serve as evidence if I needed to confront him. However, to gather more concrete proof, I decided to bide my time. One holiday, as I was preparing to send Jeff's suit for cleaning and check the pockets, something fell out. I thought, this belongs to Cindy. It was a lipstick, frequently used by my sister. I placed it on the table and waited for Jeff to come home. Seeing it, he was visibly startled. He must have realized immediately what it was. "You know what this is, right?" "Huh? I don't know anything about it." "Whose it could be?" He was clearly panicking. I didn't ask whose it was? Oh. He had unwittingly exposed himself. "Can you explain?" I pressed Jeff for answers. "There's no point hiding it anymore. As you guessed, I'm dating Cindy." "Dating?" I immediately understood what his words implied. Dating was just a euphemism for an affair. Then call her over now. Okay, I understand. I had him contact my sister and call her to our house. Upon seeing me, she smirked. Perhaps she had planted the lipstick in his pocket as part of her scheme. We sat facing each other on the sofa, and the setup made me feel like I was the villain. Sorry, Vanessa. But we are serious. So, could you gracefully step back? Her words made me feel chills rather than anger. She looked as if it was entirely natural for me to be the one at fault. I steeled myself for what was to come. Thus, my marriage with Jeff came to an end. Eventually, Cindy moved into the house where Jeff and I had lived, forcing me to return to my parents' home. Upon my sudden return, my dad was shocked, but when I explained the situation, he was furious and immediately called Cindy. I was nearby and heard everything. He disowned her over the phone. That should settle it. We probably won't see each other again, but I am truly sorry. Why are you apologizing, Dad? It's my responsibility, being her father. I let Cindy behave that way by neglecting her. He repeatedly apologized to me. I didn't want to see him like that. And I could only feel hatred for the two who had caused that situation. For a while, there was absolutely no contact from either my sister or my husband. After about 2 months of getting used to life back at my parents' home. Vanessa. It's your father. What? I hurried to where my dad was, and he was breathing heavily. Are you okay? Somewhat. An ambulance? Your mother has called it. Vanessa. I have a favor to ask. What is it? Could you bring me a pen and paper? After I handed them to him, he began to write something. If I die, call this number. Don't talk about such unlucky things. Also, make sure to get along with your mother. That turned out to be the last conversation I ever had with my dad. 15 minutes later, the ambulance arrived, but by then, his heart and breathing had already stopped. By the time we reached the hospital, he was no longer in this world. I don't remember much of what happened next. According to my mother, I looked as if my soul had left me. Are you okay?
Yeah.
I've calmed down a bit. I never thought something like this would happen. Did you know anything about it, Mom? No. He was always stubborn about not worrying others. My mother spoke kindly, a face full of gentle understanding. That's probably the ideal type of marriage. Without a moment's rest, we began preparations for my dad's funeral. Didn't your father tell you to make a call? Oh. That's right. I had completely forgotten about it in the grief of my dad's death. I immediately went to my room to look for the paper he had given me. I thought, I guess I should call this number. Then, I called the number written there. Hello. That call would reveal what my dad had been thinking. After reporting back to my mother and receiving something from my late dad, we both shed large tears. The day of the funeral arrived quickly. And from morning, my mother and I were busy dealing with the mourners. In the calmer afternoon, a familiar pair of faces appeared at the entrance of the funeral home. Moreover, they were not dressed appropriately for a funeral. What are you doing here? Isn't that a harsh way to greet someone? Didn't Dad disown you? That doesn't matter. Can you just hand over the inheritance quickly? What the heck? Today is Dad's funeral. I do know that. That's why I came. While the funeral was in progress, the estranged sister boldly entered the scene. Moreover, she wasn't alone. It was a face I did not wish to see. Dad's dead now, so there must be plenty left, right? I mean the money, right? Exactly. But someone like you isn't getting a penny from me. I never thought he could become such a despicable scum. How did you even find out? We hadn't been in touch at all? Well, I have my connections, you know. They kindly informed me, unlike you useless types. What is that supposed to mean? At that point, being related by blood no longer mattered. I just couldn't let this go. It's rude not to even pay respects to Dad. It's meaningless to do that for someone who's dead. All we want is money. Just hand it over, and we'll leave. It was heartbreaking to think that our dad, who had disowned his daughter and husband with such agony, would not rest in peace. It was at that moment I thought it was noisy. It was you guys. The calm mother appeared. No emotion of anger was visible. Mom. Finally, someone who understands is here. You'll give us the inheritance Dad left, right? Is that why you came? I'm sorry, but could you please leave? Then, Cindy confronts our mother. Huh? Isn't it natural since I'm the eldest daughter? In this house, I only have one daughter. I had never thought my mother to be as cool as she was at that moment. Normally, she is quiet and reserved. It was surprising, but I felt that there was no stronger ally than her. However, Cindy responded to her words with a laugh. Of course, the main reason I came today is for the money, but I also have some news. News? Yes. Something you've always wanted but could never have, Vanessa. What is it? There's a new life growing inside me. So, I'm not just here for the inheritance. I expect some congratulatory money as well. Saying that, Cindy joyfully stroked her belly. At that moment, I, who had been unable to have children, unwittingly felt envious. Not only was I frustrated by my own thoughts, but anger also started to well up inside me. What a presumptuous woman. I see. It's hard to say, but there's nothing for you two here. What? Both looked at each other with their mouths agape. I decided to tell them the truth. It was enough to plunge them into despair. Unfortunately for you, Cindy, you have no right to anything Dad left. That can't be true. I'm the eldest daughter of this house. She yelled so loudly that people around started looking our way. Then Jeff also sided with her. Don't say things as if they're true just because you don't like them. As if they're true? Well, I have something to show you here. I took something out of my pocket. It was Dad's will, which I always carried with me. It included not just details about the inheritance. Let me see that. Cindy took the will from me and started reading. My mother and I looked at each other. This is a lie. There's no way he left me nothing. The phone number Dad had told us about was for a lawyer's office. Knowing his end was near, he had prepared a will. That's right. You must have made this up. I couldn't help but sigh. It's officially written. Moreover, the will was handed over by the lawyer Dad asked to keep it. Seriously? As it says, you don't inherit anything. Understand and leave. Don't disgrace Dad's funeral any further. Then Cindy lunged at me with a demonic expression. Why you? I desperately retorted. No matter how good you look on the outside, it's because your heart is rotten. Dad knew that. Don't joke with me. I was pushed by her and hit my head on a nearby chair. How dare you? Then something started flowing down from my head. Vanessa. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Somehow. Then, someone in the crowd shouted the word police. Hearing that, Jeff and Cindy tried to flee, but it was already too late. Surrounded and without any way out. Why? Cindy sat down on the spot. Holding my head, I spoke to her. If you don't understand even this, you're going to have a hard time from now on. You know what? She glared at me, but I felt nothing. You should be more worried about something else. What you did to me earlier counts as assault. You might become a criminal. Hearing that, she became terribly silent, possibly horrified. Soon after, the police arrived and took her away for questioning. Make sure you pay for your crimes. Oh, and you still owe me property division, so please take care of that too. Jeff watched in astonishment as she was taken away. What are you doing standing there? Huh? Why don't you go with her? You can't do anything on your own anyway. Jeff looked around. People were folding their arms and glaring at him. Seeing that, Jeff ran away as if escaping. I've also called an ambulance, just in case. Thanks, Mom. I wonder if this will calm things down. If they haven't learned their lesson from this, they're really stupid. I went to the hospital immediately, but there was nothing wrong with my brain. And I was able to go home. What awaits them now is undoubtedly hell. Considering what they have done to me so far, I can't help but look forward to it. Dad left me an inheritance, but could you keep it for me, Mom? That's fine, but are you sure?
Yeah.
I feel like if I take it now, I might become complacent. Understood. I'll keep it until then. After Dad's funeral, we regained our peaceful everyday life. However, a call from Jeff brought back the irritation I had almost forgotten. It's a request for a lifetime. Help me. Why don't you figure it out yourself? What about Cindy? She's locked herself in her room and won't come out. Cindy was taken away by the police, questioned, and then released. I deliberately didn't sue her. Furthermore, her workplace found out about the whole ordeal, and she ended up losing her job. She lost not only the inheritance but also her job. I don't care. It has nothing to do with me anymore. Cindy became useless, and Jeff, who had always relied on her, didn't know what to do either. I was worried about the unborn child, but in the worst case, Mom will take care of it. Please. I once was your husband, right? What? Don't joke. I held back my anger. Then, can you just pass a message to my sister? Serves you right. With that, I hung up the phone. After that, I quit my previous job and started working in the beauty industry. It was also to gain confidence in myself. And there, I met a wonderful man, and we are getting married next month. Today, I am moving out of my parents' house. Well, I'm going now. Take care. You can come back anytime. As I left the house, I remembered the words my dad had left me. They were written in his will. Vanessa, live your life the way you want. No one can interfere with that life. You truly are a daughter I am proud of. With those words in my heart, I will live my new life.